In the mighty South African village of Kwathondo, it was said that Kia's grandmother, Yaboki, once wore beads that whispered secrets to the moon. These weren't ordinary ornaments, they glimmered with a life of their own, their colors shifting with the wearer's desires, pure white for joy, fiery red for anger, and a deep, ominous black for betrayal. To the village, they were a marvel, to Yaboki, they were a warning. When Kia first held the beads in her hand, she felt the weight of destiny press against her palm. The string shimmered with an otherworldly glow, each bead catching the light as though it carried the essence of the sun. Her grandmother, now laid to rest, had entrusted the necklace to her. She said, "It's for you alone," her mother whispered, her voice trembling. "But be careful. Not everything that shines brings joy." The words barely registered. Kia was young, beautiful, then ambitious, a lioness in a cage too small. The beads, she believed, were her key to escaping the mundane life of the village, and she was not wrong. From the moment she wore them, everything began to change. Strangers marveled at her beauty, her face, transformed, glowing like dawn itself. The village men stumbled over their words in her presence, while the women envied her grace. Kia basked in their attention, her pride swelling with every stolen glance. But the beads were more than ornaments, they whispered promises of fortune, and soon, their magic began to unfold. First, her barren land burst into life, producing more food than she could harvest. Then, she unearthed gold coins at her backyard while tilling the soil, enough to buy the finest clothes and adornments. Merchants sought her favor, offering her goods at prices so low they were almost gifts. Yet as the blessings poured in, Kia's heart began to harden. She no longer greeted her neighbors with warmth, nor did she help the beggars who lined the market streets. She was always now focused on what compliments she'd be getting whenever she strode past people than anything else. One fateful morning, a frail young man approached her, his hand outstretched. "Please, my dear," he begged. "A little food for a starving soul." Kia turned her nose up at him. "Go and work like the rest of us," she snapped. "I have nothing for you." That night, as she removed the necklace to sleep, a faint crack echoed in the stillness. She held up the beads, her heart sinking. One bead was missing. The next day, her chickens, once the envy of the village, stopped laying eggs. Confused but undeterred, Kia dismissed the incident. "Chickens grow tired too," she muttered. But the days turned into weeks, and her misfortunes multiplied. The second bead vanished after a quarrel with her closest friend. Kia, consumed by pride, had beaten the woman's hand off for trying to touch her beads. "What are you? A witch? Oh, now I see, you envy me," she yelled. The very next morning, her crops began to wither. The once vibrant greens turned to brittle browns, leaving her fields barren. The whispers in the village grew louder, and the smiles that once greeted her turned into wary glances. The third bead disappeared after she humiliated a young boy selling fish in the market. When he begged her to buy his wares, she laughed cruelly. "You dare offer me this filth," she said, tossing the fish onto the ground. That evening, the gold coins she had buried for safekeeping vanished without a trace. She dug frantically, her hands blistering as she searched, but the earth yielded nothing. By now, fear had begun to creep into her heart. The necklace, once a source of pride, felt heavy around her neck, as though it carried the weight of her deeds. It was the village elder who finally broke the silence. Kia was wandering alone through the village one afternoon when Mama Meko spotted her, looking distressed. She had been looking to speak with her anyway, given that the many complaints from fellow villagers about Kia had reached her humble abode. Summoning Kia to her heart, she studied her with eyes clouded by age but sharp with wisdom. "Who gave you those beads?" "Those beads are not any ordinary gift, they are a test," she said gravely. "Each one falls for a wrong you commit. And when the last bead is gone," her voice trailed off, leaving the rest to her imagination. "Aha! So this is why," Kia muttered, her heart heavy with regret. It was almost as if she had suddenly had a change of heart, but in reality, her focus was on not losing any more beads and fortunes, not necessarily on wanting to change for good. Kia, desperate to protect what remained, vowed to change her ways. She began to greet her neighbors with forced smiles and offered token kindnesses to the poor. But her pride, like a thorn buried deep, could not be easily uprooted. The fourth bead fell when she mocked a widow struggling to carry firewood. "Perhaps if you had a husband, you wouldn't have to work so hard," she said, her voice dripping with malice. The next morning, her house, a grand structure that had once been the envy of the village, began to crumble. The roof sagged, the walls cracked, and the once sturdy beams groaned under their own weight. The fifth bead disappeared after she ignored a child crying by the roadside. By now, the necklace had grown so tight that it left red marks on her neck. And then came the storm. One night, as the rain lashed against her crumbling home, Kia awoke to a cold wind sweeping through her room. Shadows danced on the walls, and a voice, soft yet commanding, filled the air. "You were my gift but not my wisdom," it said. Her grandmother's voice. Tears streamed down Kia's face as she fell to her knees. "What must I do?" she cried. "Redeem yourself," the voice replied. "For the final bead holds your soul. Should it fall, you will lose yourself forever." The next morning, Kia began her journey of redemption. She gave away what little she had left, helped those she had wronged, and worked tirelessly to rebuild the trust she had shattered. But the final bead remained, glowing faintly, as if waiting for her to prove her worth. It was almost as if the last bead was telling her, "Do something daring now, or die." Then came that one stormy evening when she saw a child slip into the rushing river. Without hesitation, she plunged into the water, her body fighting against the cold and the current. She pulled the child to safety, her chest heaving with exhaustion. As she climbed out, the necklace loosened. The final bead glowed brightly, then crumbled into dust. Tale of this selfless act soon echoed through the whole village, but even those who shared it couldn't believe what they were telling their friends and family. She had instantly become a village hero, and the little boy she saved almost became like her adopted son. He'd run errands for her without tiring, so often that his servitude became suffocating. Though her wealth and beauty had been gone, Kia had since felt a lightness in her heart she had never known. She had lost much, but she had gained the respect of her people and the knowledge that the kind of worth found in acts of kindness supersedes possessions. Lovely viewers, in a world where you could be anything, please choose to be kind. For the world would be a better place for us all if we show kindness to one and all.